Erev Shabbos, Parshas Matos, Maaseh. We discussed the division of Eretz Yisrael. Every city got their own nachal, their own portion of the promised land, the Holy Land, Eretz Yisrael. You could imagine, not all Eretz Yisrael is created equal. In some regards, they're all absolutely Kaddish, and they all are Eretz Asher, Inei Hashem Lekecha, Ba, Merishas Hashana, and Achar Hashana, 100%. But the north is different than the south. Yerushalayim is different than Hebron. Tiberia is different than, other places. Yeah? So, the division was, you can imagine some tension happening there. To make sure that there wasn't any tension, they divided up the land using a girl. And the girl has been used historically by Israel, whether it's the girl Hagra, or to know which goat goes la Azazel, which one's going to be Korban and Yom Kippur. A girl is a way of handing over the choice to the Rebbeinu Shalom and accepting that message straight from him. Instead of us making the decision, we'll, leave it in the hands of capital F, fate. Yes, the Rebbeinu Shalom. So, the Chazal even tell us that there was a Pasco that came out confirming every lot that was drawn, meaning they would have I'm not exactly sure how the girl worked. They had every portion of land was announced, like, okay, this is, Chelek of Shevet done, and not only would the girl say that this belongs to Dun, a Basco came out and confirmed, yes, this taka goes to Dun. Fascinating. And you have to wonder, why is such a, we're talking about the Dard Deya. They just, taking over Eretz Yisrael wasn't a Pasha thing either. There were nisim and floods, there was hailstorms, malachim wiping out armies. They were living with their Rebbeinu Shalom, 100%. And yet, human nature is, maybe that green grass over there is mine. The Rebbeinu Shalom made sure no disagreements. There is absolutely no ambiguity that this is my chelek and that's your chelek. There's a Maisa. Two people come to their Rav and they're arguing over a piece of land. And this one says, my land. The other one says, my land. There's actually a song that sings out this by Salinger. Yeah, by Salinger, but a Murdig song. Maybe after the 3 weeks. So they're both arguing to the Rav, and they're saying, it's my land. And the Rav says, I hear you, let's hear what the land says. So they're both a little incredulous, all right. And the Rav leans down on the floor, puts his ear to the ground, and he listens. He goes, gets up, and he looks at these two gentlemen in the eye and says, well, I have an answer from the land. What does the land say? The land says, you say it belongs to you, you say it belongs to you. I say that the two of you belong to me. Years I've heard this story, and I assumed it meant that they were saying, that the story is saying that the land is telling these two gentlemen, I own you because I'm making you fight. I own you because I'm taking absolute control over your mind, your being. All you guys can think about is who gets this land. I just got recently that when the land says that you belong to me, it means that after 120, everyone goes into the land. A little bit of perspective. But sometimes it's hard to have that perspective. Meir Chadosh learned in Slobodka as a bacher, and he had a chavrusa, very close with. They were in the middle of learning, and suddenly, the Nazis are coming. So they grab a book, grab the tefillin, run out, and they're racing down the street in total pandemonium, chaos. The mothers pushing strollers and carriages and people trying to grab their belongings, stuffing they're putting their pockets and their shoes, grab anything that could be worth anything, something that could be worth a bribe later. You have no idea. And yelling, screaming, pushing, crying. Meir Chadosh is running with his chavrusa. And his chavrusa says, I have to go back. You can't go back. You can't go back. He says, I have to go back. I forgot my notebook. He said, forget your notebook. We're talking about our lives here. We gotta go. And he said, no, I gotta go. Wait for me. And he runs. He said, I guess I'm waiting for him. And he's waiting and waiting and waiting. And as the town is emptying out, people are running by saying, come on in, hop on into the wagon, get on my horse, let's go. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm waiting for my friend. My chavrusa is coming back. I have to wait for him. Can you imagine the Mashiach's nefesh? We have to go. 15, 20, 25 minutes later, he's offered 10, 20 rides out of the city, and he turns them all down for his chavrusha to come back. 20 minutes later, his friend comes back with his notebook high in the air and says, I got it, let's go. The town is come on empty. There's barely anyone left. There's like a few trickles. The last wagon is coming by. The guy stops and says, I have room for one. Meir Chadosh's chavrusa runs into the wagon and they pull off, leaving him abandoned, alone. He's left in a city abandoned by himself with the Nazis on the way because he waited for his chavrusa and his chavrusa abandoned him. Left him stranded. Left to die. And he's walking and he's furious. You could imagine the resentment, the hatred. How could he have done this? I mean, come on. Just basic human dignity. But then he says, look, I'm a Talmud of the Alter Slabotka. What, I'm going to hold a grudge? Can't hold a grudge. I'm going to do him in the 3 weeks. He says, I'm Moichelim. But I have to really be Moichelim. And as he's walking, he's slowly making his way out of the city by foot, he says, I'm Moichelim, but leave Shalom. I'm Moichelim, Mechilu Kamura. And he says, he's my friend. He's my friend, and I will treat him no different. Not only did he survive the war, his chavrusa also did. And they met up in Eretz Yisrael years later after the war. And his friend comes over, Meir, you made it, you survived. He gives him a big hug. And Meir said, I was Moichelim. I was Moichelim, he says, in his head. He's my friend. It's like it never happened. You can imagine, he didn't bring it up. He's like, oh, remember how you left me for dead? Nothing. They became chavrusas again. And they learned together until in their mid-80s, they were chavrusas. The koyach, to be able to say, it's not about the land, the mice of the land that owns us. I'm not going to be picky that yours is mine and mine is yours, even though that's our teva. To be able to have that clarity, to be able to have that das yashara, something we could all learn from, in our own way, in our own level, but frat in the 3 weeks, to be able to say that my lot is my lot, your lot is your lot, and all I want is for you to have the best, and I'm going to try to use my lot to make your lot better. We will be zoichet to have that sense of achdus, that unity, to realize that everyone in Klal Yisrael is, or even Klal Yisrael, zeh bo zeh, zeh lo zeh, we're mamash one and the same. It's my left arm and my right arm. With that perspective, to greet Mashiach, to kingdom of Meir V'Yameinu. Amen. Good Shabbos.